Welcome to this new chapter. In the last chapter, we had a chance to set up a development environment for C++20 on different operating systems. We had a chance to do that on Windows, Linux, and I had the chance to show you how you could do that on a Mac. In this chapter, we're going to actually start and learn proper C++20. But before we do that, we're going to set up a project template that we're going to be reusing across the course. Remember, we had to do a lot of work to set up Visual Studio Code. We don't want to do that every time we create a new project. The code we're going to be using here should be familiar. We've used this a lot of time in the last chapter. Now we're going to hop over to Visual Studio Code and show you a few things that can make your life easier as you write C++20 applications. In the last chapter, we set up Visual Studio Code to be able to use different compilers. If you are on Windows, it is possible for you to use both GCC 10 and the compiler from Microsoft Visual Studio. And for the compiler from Microsoft Visual Studio, we saw that we had to go through the developer command prompt to start it so that the path to the compiler can be found. So we're going to do that here and start Visual Studio Code. We're going to say developer command prompt. You can use PowerShell or command prompt. They're all going to work. But what I want you to see is that you can make this a bit easier. You can click on developer PowerShell here. That's what I'm going to use. When you open it up on Windows, you can come to this taskbar here and right click and pin this to this taskbar if it's not already pinned. This is going to make it easier to get to this developer prompt without having to go and find it in the start menu here. Now I realize that it is unpinned, so I'm going to pin it again. I'm going to click on it, and I am going to pin it to the taskbar here. Let's click on this, and if I close it and open it again, it's going to open up without me going to go find it. This is going to save you a few seconds. Now that we are here, we're going to go to the location where Visual Studio Code is installed. I'm going to change to the upper directory a couple of times, cd ... cd ... until I get to C. Then I do dir. I'm going to find I have a folder called Visual Studio Code. You're going to browse to the location where Visual Studio Code is. I'm going to cd into Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to dir. And inside, I'm going to have Microsoft Visual Studio Code. I'm going to cd Microsoft. I'm going to hit tab. It's going to autocomplete. If I hit enter and dir, I'm going to find my binary executable for Visual Studio Code. And it is this thing that says code.exe. I'm going to run it. So code.exe. I'm going to hit tab for this to be in a format that PowerShell likes. I'm going to hit enter, and Visual Studio Code should start up. You see that the last program we did in this Visual Studio Code instance is opened up. It is what we did. If you want to know where this is located on your file system, you can find that out here. This is going to open up in this terminal. Another way you can do this is to click on the main CPP file and hit reveal in Explorer. It's going to open up wherever it is. And we can use this project. One thing we've done before is to set up the tasks JSON file so that it can use two compilers. We've done this in the last chapter. I am on Windows, so I have access to the Microsoft Visual Studio compiler. If you are not on Windows, or if you don't want to use this Visual Studio compiler, you can leave in this only task that uses GCC. That's going to work well. Another thing, we also had to set up the CPP properties JSON file here so that our IntelliSense and whatever works better in this Visual Studio instance we have here. Now, we don't want to be doing this work every time. So what I am going to do, I am going to open up this project on my drive. I am going to hit main CPP, right click, reveal in File Explorer, and I'm going to go one level up where I'm going to see the template project here, and I can copy it, and I'm going to be reusing this folder to start new projects. If you noticed, our settings for this project are stored in this folder .vscode. If I go in, I'm going to find my tasks file and my CPP properties file. This is what is going to tell Visual Studio Code what to do. So if I copy this over, I won't have to reset up the compilers and everything we've done to have what we have here in Visual Studio Code. So that's what we're going to copy and reuse every time we're going to create a new project. That's the first thing. The second thing I want you to see is that you have the option to come to this gear icon and change a few things about your instance of Visual Studio Code. You can change the color theme. If you don't like the black thing we have here, you can use a light version of this. You can change this to be whatever you like, but I am going to keep this to dark because it is easier on the eyes. And you can change a few settings again. If you come to settings here, you're going to be able to change a few things about Visual Studio Code. For example, if we hit text editor and hit font, we're going to be able to change the font we use. I like Consolas, so that's what I'm going to keep here. You can change the font size. I'm going to keep this to 24 so that it is a little big. You can change a few things here if you want. And when you are done with your settings, you can close here and you can keep working in your IDE or code editor that Visual Studio Code is. Another thing you can do in here is use the integrated terminal here. You see, if we come in here, we can clear and do everything we've been able to do from the PowerShell command prompt. For example, we can do dir. It's going to give us the same things we see in our tab on the left here. We can manipulate our project. For example, we can remove things by using the rm command. If we type rooster.exe, we're going to be able to remove that. If we do dir again, you're going to see that it is gone. So if you want to clear your project, you can either do that here in the command prompt, or you can come here on the left pane and click around and delete things, or really do whatever you like. This is really all I wanted you to see in this lecture to be able to set up a template project we're going to be reusing. So let's go back and go to Reveal in Explorer. We're going to go up again. We're going to copy this folder and we're going to go in our project and go in the chapter that we're going to be working and go where I plan to save the code for what we're going to do in the next lecture. We're going to be writing our very first C++ program. So I think I should put this template project here so that I can easily copy it and reuse it. And I'm going to close this up. And we are ready to close this and reuse this in the next lecture where we're going to actually be starting learning C++ 20. Go ahead and finish up here and meet me there.